From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks, presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, everybody. Craig Stewart here once again with you, along with Craig Durling and, of course, Ross Benson.
Well, excuse me, where's that cough button? Sorry, folks, I might have to be...
You sound hoarse, Ross.
Absolutely.
Oh, my...
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
Well,
All
Mr.
right,
Ed sounds
kudos
fine.
to our sound effects department.
Mr. Ed sounds fine tonight.
Mr. Ed does, but I get choked up just being with you guys.
We might only have Ross until the beginning of next week
Yeah, right.
tonight.
Good. Hello, the week that was, the week that will be, for...
September 11th.
There we go. Let's hit it.
Okay, so starting off with today, which is September 11th.
Is that today?
I'm sorry, we're going to...
When are you going to figure the show out?
I got to figure the show out. Oh, you know what? I actually did watch a 2.5-hour video on YouTube last night of a live feed from New York, the news as it was happening. Because it's just, I think every year we got to keep 9/11 in our mind. So we'll talk about that later.
Let's talk about
last week.
Monday.
The week that was.
So the week that was last Sunday, we're including in last week because we didn't know much about it, but there was a fatal accident at the corner of Magnolia and Victory. We've acquired about it, and BPD told us that it happened on Sunday afternoon. The victim, who was later identified as 24-year-old Evonnie Nicole Caceres from Saugus, California. I hope I said her name right. I hate to mispronounce somebody's name in that situation, but evidently she has a passenger in the vehicle. Ross, you went out there and shot some pictures of the memorial and everything else. So why don't you give us a little information here?
I talked to, in fact, it was after we recorded last week. I drove by on the way home, and there were 4 or 5 people out there and some signage and flowers. So I whipped around and I stopped and talked to them and got some information. Real tragic. I think we kind of discussed it. Gentleman who was driving the car that she was in saw a yellow light, punched it. There was somebody still completing an eastbound turn, hit that car, spun him around. The car that she was in, apparently he lost control, spun around 3 times, hit a power pole, a traffic light, and a traffic control box.
Speed.
Yep, speed. And we didn't, so we inquired. The sad thing is, I've covered a lot of accidents in Burbank. And when you are, like this young lady, her birthday is October 1st. She was going to be 25. Family members, her mother is just devastated.
Oh, I can imagine.
I've investigated more collisions than I ever care to remember.
Yeah. And people I know continue to drive by that intersection and see the memorial setup. You can go on GoFundMe. They have set up a GoFundMe to help the family pay for a funeral for this young lady. She frequented Burbank, her and the gentleman driving. We weren't given his name. I think they're still waiting for some results, but they'll probably file, I would think.
Well, as you remember, the thing on Glen Oaks we had years ago, the triple or quadruple fatal, wasn't it?
Yes, 4.
They didn't really arrest the person for weeks, actually. They had to really do an investigation on it, and they used the cameras and everything else, and they'll determine the speed, and even if the guy was at fault for turning in front of them, it's still, if they can show they sped up and...
Well, it can also take quite a while to get all the toxicology back, so a lot of times they'll hold off for that.
That's true, too. Yeah, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're lucky, but that can change the outcome of charges, things like that, once the...
And I tried to explain to the relatives. In fact, she has called me. She's the cousin of this young girl. Said the family's trying to get information from the police and they're not releasing. I said, that's because he probably has not filed, his finished report. He doesn't want to give you information, before he should. He has to go to the DA. But I told her, there's a lot of investigation.
They want immediate answers, and they're just not available yet. They will be available, but when you're a family member,
Nothing moves quick
Yeah,
enough.
patience is not part of the equation.
And there's basic collision information that's available, but only to involved parties and
Right.
insurance companies. So
And I kind of explained, I would think that they would have hired an attorney pretty quick. And that attorney will have private investigators get the street light cameras, the footage, the report, everything. So tragic loss in our city. That corner, as we reported last week,
I know there's another injury accident there during the week too.
well, it got dispatched there, but it was actually at Victory and Buena Vista, our other horrible intersection. And when Verdugo, they sent engines.
Verdugo being
both.
the Burbank Fire Department's dispatch.
Yeah, and then they said this is a duplicate call from, because when they tried to explain it to Engine 15, they said next to the CVS, and they said Victory and Magnolia, there's no CVS. So they determined pretty quick. But those are two intersections in town that I
well,
think
they're
every day.
both on these straightaways. You can see the lights for half a mile away, and
And
people get on the gas.
do they take that into consideration? You know, this accident had happened broad daylight. How far he probably saw that, and he was probably not going the speed limit already.
Well, but
So when
they'll have the timing
Yeah, it was around
of the phasing of the lights.
2:15 in the afternoon, so it's daylight. There's not a vision problem, not twilight or nothing else.
Right.
Middle of the afternoon.
No weather factor, no wet road or anything like that.
Yeah.
What,
But it depends. They can factor speed, determine speed from if there are skid marks. Sometimes there aren't even skid marks, but the amount of crush damage on the secondary vehicle. There's a lot of ways you can determine.
Well, plus now with cameras, they can actually measure how long it took to go from one point to another, and then what the speed would be to get from that point to
If the
point A to point
cameras
B.
are recording every frame or they're
Yeah.
accurate, yeah, because they have to be pretty well synced to.
did you have cameras in the former city you worked at?
Not for that purpose.
Hmm.
Well, I know that came out weird, but
No, but
they have
Well, I
license
guess
plate reading cameras. They have traffic
The
related
cameras in Burbank are not for that purpose. They were actually for traffic matters. They weren't for
Oh.
accidents.
And
that's what
typically
they
they
become.
don't record anyway. They're just monitored by a computer to detect vehicles actually present in those lanes, so they can set the signals phasing. But
But you talk about, there was a gentleman standing on that corner while that car was going around before it hit the pole. Talk about being scared to death. He got.
well, you
hit
don't
by
know where to
debris.
be at that point.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But
what
luckily,
you
it doesn't
did,
look like the pole went down, so that
No.
stopped whatever needed to be stopped.
But he got transported because he got hit by debris.
Yep.
So,
Sure.
so if you're driving by that intersection, bless the young lady that is no longer with us, and slow down. We said that.
Please slow down.
Okay. Well, we had another.
Moving on.
Moving on, we had another accident. Not an accident. But we had some police activity, and some suspects were arrested on Wednesday.
Nothing happened on Tuesday.
So we were all recovering. Does In and Out have a theme song?
I
In and out.
don't have the rights to it though.
You don't have the right.
But this happened in the parking lot.
Evidently, there was an armed robbery in the parking lot of In and Out, and they took a cell phone and some other items from somebody, and they didn't say it by gun or by knife. They didn't tell us the method used. They just said it was an armed robbery, and as we know, an armed robbery, somebody got pushed.
But they were already going after the suspect vehicle before they even
Right.
realized there had been a robbery.
They saw a car speeding away, and because they only said, "Oh, it's only speeding," and we don't have anything else on them, they just let him go.
Well, he was driving quite erratically,
Yeah.
from what I understand.
But
So
they did not pursue.
They weren't going to pursue based on what they had at the time. And from what my sources told me, they found out shortly thereafter that it had been involved in an armed robbery at In and Out. So they kept looking for it, came across it one other time,
Right.
lost it on the freeway southbound because it was driving so erratically. But you want to pick up the ball from
Yeah.
here, Ross?
Well, then they mumbling.
You sure? You want me take it from here if you want?
Well, I started the show that way. We're okay.
It's all choked up.
We're all do one
Burbank
again.
Burbank has a no pursuit policy, so they really didn't get in pursuit of the vehicle. They found it in Glendale, next to right off of Lake Street. And
Benjamin Franklin Elementary School.
is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they talked to a neighbor who lived right there and said, yeah, two guys got out and beat feeded. One jumped over the school and one kept running. Well, with a slew of Glendale officers and Burbank officers, they found the first suspect in the school. Now, they never found a weapon, but then they continued their search, and the second gentleman didn't want to surrender.
I don't know what you call them, gentlemen. They're teenagers.
Yeah, we don't have to be polite.
Okay.
Well, we don't have to be polite because
Well-
they're also felons, but
Yeah.
The dog,
allegedly.
Glendale's
Yeah,
canine did a very good job and apparently
Had a little midnight snack, huh?
helped them take him into custody.
Yeah, on a nearby porch. I guess what had happened, they had quite a perimeter set up.
Yeah.
LAPD was overhead with a helicopter, and communications were difficult because Burbank PD is now encrypted, so LAPD couldn't hear them. Glendale had trouble hearing them, so
Yeah.
they were having to do all kinds of weird stuff to just communicate with each other.
Had a sergeant literally relay.
Relaying,
Yeah,
which
that's
he did
Yeah.
Did a good job.
did a very good job, but he kept apologizing from what I understand, to the helicopter because it was
And
trying to relay
the
information.
FTO was doing a good job. It's okay. Just,
Yeah.
Their view up there.
The two suspects came out of the school. One complied and dropped to the ground. The other one kept going into a neighborhood, hopped a couple of walls, and the airship had an eye on him most of the time in a couple
Right.
of backyards. And
Well, and if you've ever talked to the helicopter crew or the canine crew, that's how they work. The helicopter with their night sun will keep the people from moving. The dog, because of the scent that your body puts off no matter what, is going for that scent. So they literally had a perimeter that they closed in on,
to a front porch.
the front porch, took them into custody. Now, I'm curious. I got out there. We shot some pictures. We ran the story with it. I know some TV stations picked up on our story. They were in a Mercedes SUV, and I'm just curious.
Out of two teenagers from L.A.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't say. They never told us if it was a stolen car,
They don't tell us much of anything anymore.
but I know they held it for prints because the police officers never saw the.
Yeah, they have to put the two of them inside it.
Right.
Exactly. But they did have the victim get transported by a Burbank police unit to Glendale. She identified her stuff that they had, and
She got her phone back, which is nice. I mean,
got her phone back. But you know what? That's scary. You come to Burbank,
Yeah.
go buy a double, and
I'd like to know if they did use a weapon or it was just a shoving incident. Or I mean, once again, they didn't tell us that, so it's
It was
not.
reported as a handgun,
Right.
seen and used,
Yep.
but
Oh,
there was
okay.
never one recovered. And from what I was told after the fact, there was an extensive what they call an article search, in and around the school property
right.
because they hadn't recovered a reported firearm and they didn't want to miss one if it had been tossed
And
in the property
especially living in
somewhere.
an elementary school.
Absolutely.
Well, that was their big
but
fear. The
nothing was
next
ever
day,
recovered.
some kid playing out in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look what
They
I
brought in article searching dogs.
Yep, exactly.
And did close searches with officers and did a very thorough search from what I was told, and unfortunately didn't. I mean, it could be anywhere from between in and out in that school.
Yeah.
They could have tossed it anywhere.
Yeah, throw on the freeway. Who knows?
But the lady got her purse back and 2 dirt bags off the street. And don't come to Burbank to do your crime.
Yep.
You're going to get caught.
Unfortunately, it'll still be up to Gascon to do anything with them.
Well,
As we
luck
proceed
with
on.
that. Friday we had the grand opening and a ribbon cutting of bread and Beck breakfast. Easier for me to say.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're gonna need subtitles for you two guys.
321 East End, Alameda, and Ross, you were there, and you kind of commented that you've done several grand openings in that location.
That bitty bed bread
Well,
breakfast.
well, I'm the one with the false tooth, you guys. Wait. Okay. All right.
Pull that chiclet out of there. Stop it. What are you doing?
Oh,
We're
it
on
really
video for crying out loud.
Okay. My
Gross.
teeth are in. I can
Gross.
say
We got to rate the video now.
bread and breakfast. It's right on the corner. It's where Big Mama's Pizza is, so people know that little.
Was that a wing place at one time?
You're right.
Yep.
And also a burger place.
Yep.
And also another. I've done 4 ribbon cuttings there. This ribbon cutting was in the morning. I'm not a morning person. When they gave me the address, I showed up and I'm the first one there, and I'm going. Been here many times, but never at this hour.
You remember the names of all those places.
All you gotta do next time is just Photoshop new people in.
Because all those 3 places that were there before should go on your list of restaurants that are no longer in
You are
Burbank.
so correct. You're
Add
so
3.
But it's bread and breakfast, and they're only open till 3. They're open during the weekdays 7 to 3.
No, it's not.
And
So
It's not bread and breakfast and lunch and dinner. It's just
that's right.
bread and breakfast.
So it sounds like a brunchy place.
Yeah, and it's a.
Brunch goes till 3, people. This is L.A. Brunch goes till 3.
Well, what's funny is it's owned by a couple of great Armenian guys, and they're serving Mexican food.
Oh,
I got nothing.
I,
I'll have to try it myself.
They complimented the chamber members with breakfast. I know Jamie walked away with a couple of breakfast tacos. Now, I've never heard of a breakfast taco. I've heard of breakfast burritos. I've heard of, scrambled eggs on toast, an egg McMuffin. I never heard of a breakfast taco.
I was teaching a class in Kalamazoo last year and discovered what a breakfast pizza was.
Breakfast pizza.
Unbelievable. Apparently, there's a chain of gas stations in the area that are known for these breakfast pizzas.
I can't believe that when I think of a place to go in the morning
Awesome.
for breakfast, I can't think.
I'm telling
I
you.
could have thought of the gas station. Of
I'm
course.
telling- well, you'd never know they were from because the name of the place was on the boxes. I'm like, where is this restaurant? I need to try this. And they said, no, it's a gas station. It's a chain of gas stations.
It's funny you say that, Craig, because last week I saw there's an opening for a new chicken place inside of a liquor store here in Burbank. I believe it's Victory in Providencia.
Well, we have
A chicken place.
you've got a restaurant in the back of Alameda Liquor.
Well, not in back. It's inside.
It's inside. Well, yeah, but
He's
it's
been
inside.
there. They've been there for years.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's inside the store. It's not
This is a chicken.
Booze and bratwurst.
It kind of blew me. Well, so they're there. They take all Grubhub and all the delivery services you can call. And
breakfast. 321 East Alameda.
Let's move
Wait,
on.
Number H.
Moving on to the weekend.
Number H.
Letter H.
This past weekend, we said goodbye to a Burbank staple. Gordon Biersch on Angelino and San Fernando has now closed their doors as of Sunday night
Boo.
permanently.
Boo.
And Rashi said you talked to the manager there, and he said it was their
Well, I've
storage
heard.
containers that were just too old to replace and not worth it. And
Well, I've heard from several sources that if you remember, you drive down Alameda, you could see their huge beer containers.
I mean, Angelino,
What did I say?
Alameda.
I got lost coming here tonight.
I want some of what he's taking.
That's-
I'll tell you.
Wow.
Yes, Angelino, and they have those big, where they store their beer and all.
The vats or
The
whatever.
vats, yeah, but apparently the machinery. Think about it. They've been there at least 25 years now. Stuff doesn't last forever. But my question is, here's a test for you. What was there before it was Gordon Biersch? Don't we have the Jeopardy theme?
You're supposed to know this. You're doing the whole
I know,
story
I
on
know. I
restaurants
know.
that used to be,
I'm
restaurants that
testing
were.
Craig because
well, I'll tell you what. I don't hang in that area. I don't know.
It was next to Black Angus, right? Or is
No.
it
up the street,
up the
Oh.
street from Black
across the
Angus?
street from
I can tell-
Holiday Inn.
The old bicycle club or something, but that's not there. That was down First Street.
Gordon Biersch,
Was it a restaurant?
Burbank Daily Review. Angelino below San Fernando. We had the parking lot. We used to go in the entrance.
It was the old post office.
Before the Daily Review was the post office.
Ah, I remember the old post office.
Yeah, now we're dating ourselves.
You are. This is a podcast.
and
This is
you
a
know-
podcast. You're talking about stuff where typewriters typed in
You
pencil.
know why I don't remember that as being that? Because I never went in the front door. I always went in the parking lot door
Right.
when I was at the Daily Review.
You remember you worked circulation
Yes, I did.
back in the corner. I remember that dark room very well. I taught I won't say her name to keep the show clean, but I taught somebody how to do darkroom work in that dark room. I remember taking film in there and somebody saying, go in there and process it. And I go, what?
No, that was probably the old Daily Review on Orange Grove.
You're right. Thank you. You're right. Boy, I'm really
Well,
off.
I didn't
And
remember.
for those born in the last 40 years,
So Gordon
goodbye,
Biersch,
goodbye, Gordon Biersch.
now everybody would love to
But-
see places open in Burbank.
But you know what I found? wouldn't that be in their DNA of when you open a business that we're going to need to replace
A
this?
brewery? Maintenance and replacement?
Yeah, wouldn't you need to? Okay, it's got a 25-year life, and we need to start. That's part of the business plan.
Maybe they just plan to be open for 25 years.
That was it. Yeah,
So that's it.
Somebody made note that they've closed several.
yeah. I think it has more to do than just old equipment.
If you've ever, I assume you've been to the Gordon Biersch there.
Yes.
I love
They're
the root beer.
very personnel heavy.
Yeah.
At those
Yeah.
those places. A lot of people work in there.
I love their freshly brewed root beer. It was very good.
Well, so we've in 2 weeks, a lot of people are hemorrhaging. We lost Gourmet 88, and now we lost Gordon Biersch. That's funny, both with
All the
G's.
G's.
Yeah, that's weird. But people are saying what they would love to see there.
Yep.
You know, some people are. You got to remember when they put that Gordon Biersch in, they did not have 4 extra hotels a block away. You now have the Marriott residence.
Yeah, you can't say they don't have a built-in clientele in that area. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to go in there? That's
But right across the street, you have a craft beer place now next to Story Tavern.
right.
So you got beers still in the same
Yeah.
block.
Or you come down to Pass and Riverside, you go to 24 different restaurants.
Can we do a GoFundMe to get a better sign on that hotel?
Oh, the one that's hand painted up on the roof.
Ugh. Like it's made of cardboard.
It does, doesn't it? Well, when they changed, the original guy that built that, Joe Perry, when it was a Holiday Inn,
Aerosmith.
Yes, exactly.
Nailed it.
Joe Perry, Mike Nolan was his best friend, Mike and his brother. They, I remember he walked into city council once and wanted to build the second tower and had a briefcase of $1 million and said to the city, I want to build my second tower. So,
Yep. Well, let's move on to one more thing that we saw this past weekend, which we're trying to digest right now.
I don't know about this.
You have my interest peaked. Let me just
Somehow
say that.
on social media, a video came out of our mayor, Constantine Anthony, being spanked in a video
What?
by a drag queen.
What?
Talk about GoFundMe.
Now, I'm going to say this, okay? Number one, here's my take on it.
Oh, the visual there was.
So, number one, my take is this: he's running for county supervisor. I don't even know where this happened at. There's no location in the video. He's running for county supervisor. I'm sure he's doing some kind of a fundraising or a.
It was a Democratic.
It was just.
party.
It was
and
just
somebody
fun.
tongue in cheek said, "Hey, just let's do." And of course, somebody took a video, and what's the first thing to do with it? Send it to Fox News.
Right, they're going to use it as ammunition.
So now
It's
it's
just
going
doing
all over the
something
country
fun.
that the Burbank mayor is being spanked by a drag queen. He didn't. There's nothing on him or anything else that says Burbank mayor. But I do understand. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, if you are the Burbank mayor, you are representing our city even 24/7. It's not saying you just turn on and turn off. I mean.
Well, they've shifted the words a little.
Yeah.
They said there were kids present.
No,
I looked at the picture.
even
His own son was there. That was it.
even if there were kids there, he didn't do anything that you can put it on everybody's video. I mean,
2023.
Good fun for crying out loud, people.
and that's
Loosen
probably all
up.
it was. He was just having a
Loosen
good,
up.
lighthearted moment.
Hey,
I
don't you
mean-
guys remember Laugh-In? They used to do some really corny stuff like that.
All the Sakatumi stuff.
Yeah, and it was fine. Now they do it, and it's all over social media.
Well, and this was, this wasn't even meant to be, so I'm sure at the council meeting it's going to come up and he's going to probably have to explain himself. And, if anything,
I hope he doesn't apologize.
at the very best, it might have been a little bit of bad judgment maybe. But besides that, it's the man didn't do anything legally wrong.
How long ago was this, supposedly?
This happened on the weekend.
It was very recent.
Yeah.
exactly.
Lighten up, America.
Thank you very
Yeah. I think it's, it's much ado about nothing. You know what?
But if somebody doesn't want him to run or wants to give him a hard
Well-
time, perfect ammunition for that, right?
Every video I've seen retweeted or tweets, everything else, it's all from Republican, people.
sources.
Yeah, it's all Republican. Very, I think most people just say, whatever.
There's a group of people in this community that don't like our mayor. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about it many times. He's been in here, done podcasts. He has not done
Great.
Hey,
anything.
he won the popular vote.
Thank
Okay,
you.
he won the vote. Okay, so if people didn't, how do you win the vote? You know,
Right.
so, and now he's running for county supervisor. So, you know, I give him a pass on this. You know, I'm not offended by it. You know, everything else. I'm sure if he had to do all over again, he probably may not have done it. But you know, it's not a scandal in any way.
Well, the sad part about it is they're looking for anything right now.
Yeah,
He was at 2 open houses recently where the police were called because there were protesters. Again, the other party made so much noise at these 2 events, they had to come and he had to leave. You know, and that's just BS in my.
yeah.
Just disruption.
Yep, people think they can get away with it
They're
now.
thugs.
They can.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah.
Okay,
Does that lead us into a commercial? Because I need to go wipe my brow.
Okay, well, we'll take a quick commercial break
Ross need to take his
and
meds.
be back with the week that will be.
How would you like your business advertised in this very spot? My Burbank Talks is looking for local businesses interested in a 30-second spot to appear in our podcasts. If you're interested, please email advertising@myburbank.com and we'll be glad to discuss all the exciting possibilities with you. Now, back to our podcast.
Okay, we're back with you for the week that will be. And that,
By the way, thanks for the water. I need to swallow my pills.
and that does bring us to today, which is 9/11. Like I said before, I was up very late last night watching. It was a 2.5-hour YouTube video taken off the news station in New York. I think the ABC or an NBC station, and it's from the time they broke into their programming. You know, they're interviewing some guy on their morning show, and how the information was coming in, and you know they had reporters on the scene, and you know what we know what happened, and what the reports that came in were it was very interesting to see how reports were made. There was one report that the State Department had been bombed also, which of course we know is not true now, but it just shows you how hard it is to get information and get good accurate information.
And it was hard to correct.
Right.
False information.
And they also were at first thought it was just a private jet, not a airliner that had hit the building. And
well, we all remember where we were going, when we were going, and what we did the rest of the day. One of those events.
I don't know if I can imagine what it's like to be in New York when that happened. I mean, it's bad enough here on the other side of the country, but in New York,
if you recall, we have an airport here in town. Shut down every airport. Nothing flew.
They grounded everything.
Everything.
And what was it? 4 or 5 days.
Right.
It wasn't just then. I mean, there was nothing outside. Nothing. No noise at all.
I do recall Burbank firefighters put a team together, and they Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams, his own jet, he flew Burbank firefighters back to New York to help in the recovery. And that's the only way they could get in was by private jet. I
saw there was a memorial at the L.A. City Fire Department, and they have a huge piece of the
biggest
one of the towers that's there, and they had a ceremony there. Now we had our own ceremony here in Burbank this morning, which you attended, and I know a lot of city officials. I think 4/5 of the council made it to it, and along with many city department heads and everybody else.
Well, it was nice to see the guys from Station 11, some police officers out there. Our new fire chief was there. Our retired fire chief was there. But yeah, it was nice to see our vice mayor, council member Mullins, and council member Nikki Perez there.
Along with the mayor.
And the mayor. They were all there. Nobody spoke. There were maybe a dozen. We'll have some pictures in a story in My Burbank tomorrow. But, it was a short, quick, but a lot of people don't realize firemen are still dying.
Right.
And so far, I saw on a news report today, so far 343 firefighters have died from cancer and related.
Well, 343 died that day.
That day, and now.
Since then, police officers, responders, and firefighters, they've lost as many, if not more, due to illnesses related to response.
Just recently, within last year, I know Jon Stewart had to go and fight with Congress.
That was an amazing
because Congress was not going to give benefits to these people.
Well, they have to keep fighting for it. They have to keep going back.
For some reason, our politicians now, it's become a political thing instead of a do the right thing.
Right, because they always want to tack on their little bill or their little thing to, they want to make it a package deal to benefit them. But it's sad that they have to keep going back every 3, 4, 5 years to fight for it all over again.
But having Jon Stewart there as their spokesman made it a
very eloquent. If you haven't seen it online, it's worth looking up on YouTube or what have you. But very emotional and very well-spoken message to the to the
it was
council.
sad for me to see only maybe 15 people there. I've been there when there were a ton more. I know it's early in the morning, but you know what?
You mean this morning?
This
at
morning.
the memorial?
We shall never forget. Now, today's 9/11. It's also my son's birthday. And it's a birthday that we continue to celebrate because he was born way before this event. But it's one that I have a nephew. His birthday's today. But you'll never forget what you were doing.
Well, and we can't not pass it on because there's generations now and coming in the future that weren't around, that weren't alive when it happened.
Like I said before, it was our Pearl Harbor.
For our generation.
Yeah, our generation. Yeah. And look at our generation. We've been through 9/11, which is our Pearl Harbor, and now we've also been through a pandemic. I mean, holy cow, that's...
Good thing we're a tough generation.
I'll tell you, and we keep marching on.
Have to.
We do, and it's... but let's never forget today, Patriot Day, they call it, 9/11. When you see a first responder, you don't think... you think about them that day. They went into that building not knowing that they'd never go home.
We have so many holidays, and some of these holidays mean nothing to people. Why not have a holiday? Yeah, it'd be a week after Labor Day. Okay, we have two President's holidays, back to back or something. We had Martin Luther King, then President's Day back to back. Why not have Labor Day, and then we can call it First Responders Day or something, Patriot Day, where we honor first responders. I mean, why shouldn't today be a holiday? So you say never forget?
The ironic thing about that, who are going to be the only people working? First responders.
Yeah, but you know what? We still can take care of them, I mean.
Absolutely. And God bless those who we lost that day, the ones we've lost since, and the ones who still go on living with the memory.
Even get pulled over by a cop or something or whatever, those are that's still the first guy that's going to jump in front of something to protect you no matter what you say to him or anything else. That's his DNA, is to protect you no matter what. So
we both know a good share of firemen and policemen, and you're right. I mean, firemen go on calls every day. It's something that we won't forget.
And that show that it's had on Channel 4, the first
Los Angeles Rescue.
Yeah, if you don't understand what fire department and paramedic people do, that show's very, very realistic. Right down. I mean, it was very well produced.
Hopefully, it'll go to season 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? With the strike, nobody has to write a script for them, so it's all reality. So also today we had the landlord-tenant the planning commission meeting was canceled. I guess we have no planning to do in the city, so
it wasn't at 6 p.m.
Yeah, it was not at 6 p.m. because it was canceled. So we're not going to plan anything until October now. Landlord-tenant commission met at 6:15. They had 9 items to discuss with, mostly about landlords and monthly rent increases. So that's still a hot topic, and we'll get a little more involved with that in our city council.
And we'll find out later what came of all that.
Yes. Tuesday, well, not really, because those meetings aren't recorded.
Landlord-tenant, he's saying.
Yeah, landlord-tenant commission meetings are not recorded.
We'll put our investigators on the case. About that.
So tomorrow our city council is now. This I'm trying to understand here. Look at the agenda, and they start at 3:00 with a closed session. And one of the things they're going to talk about on the closed session is anticipated litigation about council districts. So I'm sure they're going to talk about
one of your favorite things.
Then they're going to leave the closed session and go have a board and commission thank you reception in the community services building. Now, this is while the council's still in session, which I'm finding very interesting. Now, does that mean they have to be on the record of what they say at the board and commissions? I mean,
Or can they adjourn and reconvene later?
well, it doesn't say anything in the agenda about doing that. It just says that they will go to the.
I know the Brown Act, it's really touchy because they used to have a dinner
Right.
for commissioners.
And you
They said they can't do that
because
anymore.
the Brown now does that mean that all these people now are on the record who are in this meeting and they're all on the record also because they're now talking to council people on the record?
No, because I've had this discussion with a couple of members of the police commission, and they have been drilled into their head. You cannot talk. You cannot have three of you together. There was a civic event that went on. I wanted to take a picture of our 5 commissioners. 2 of them said I can't be in the picture with the other 3.
But yeah, the 5 city council members can y'all get in the picture.
But the point is, they have drilled into
Yeah.
these commissioners. You cannot be together in 5. I'm taking a picture. We're not discussing
Right.
city politics. They can be in my picture.
But the perception is, for somebody on the outside looking in, they could be led to believe that they.
Well,
Must have,
I'm just looking at
right?
the fact that the council meeting is actually, according to the agenda, the council meeting is going on while they're at this board and commission thing. And if that's the case, doesn't
So they could talk about business.
well, yeah, but doesn't then records have to be kept? Isn't there
Right.
have to be an official?
There's a stenographer walking around with each of
Well,
them.
I don't know. So then they return back to the council chambers at 6:00, and some things they're going to talk about. They came up with a new contract for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. That's good until
IBW.
Contract.
2027. They're also going to accept a donation of a rotary clock tower, which is going to be valued around $14,000 from the Rotary Club of Burbank, and it's going to be installed at the Centennial Walkway. Now,
Craig,
the Centennial Walkway is at the corner of Palm and 3rd Street.
did you know that?
I knew that.
How did you know
I
that?
remember,
said
I
that.
remember it was dedicated.
Wow, I know the city pretty good. And
Well, that's okay.
I
I
didn't
couldn't
know
remember,
that's what it was
remember the
called.
data review building, so we're it's 1-1.
Well, you saved me from asking.
okay, so now we can say it's across the street from Cartoon Network, which won't be there, and across from
That apartment building.
no, the restaurant.
In other words, when you walk out of the jail and you make a right, it's the first place you walk
Oh,
to.
that. Now I know where you're talking
It's a
about.
little thing on the corner right there.
Now I know.
So they're going to pay $14,000 for a clock, and
Rotary.
The
That
Rotary.
donation is
Rotary.
Yeah.
And Rotary has to also pay $895 a year for 5 years to maintain it.
that means the person that goes and changes it twice a year to move it back an hour gets some good money.
If now they pass that law, there's a new law that they're looking at having daylight savings time permanent
Wait, I thought we voted on that.
As a state.
as a state. Yeah, I think it's in Congress right now.
Oh, I'm all for it. Because I realize every time it's time to change the clocks, how many darn clocks I have.
Well, all my clocks are automatic, but why couldn't they pass that law back?
No,
when all had
we don't
VC
all live in a
Electrical.
Oh. Well, but still, back in the
NORAD
old
like
days
you
of
do.
VCRs, and you had to go. Oh my God, that thing started blinking, and
my Betamax
Oh.
machine. The clock is always flashing.
oh,
Can't figure it out. Lost the remote years
You know how long it takes me? Craig Durley and I'm
Yes.
kind of in the
Present.
same boat. You know, how many clocks, the ones that are in the bathroom up high on the wall,
Right.
the kitchen
All
wall.
the manual ones are just out of reach.
Exactly.
the city council will also vote on a raise for themselves.
Yay! Opa!
So,
Wait, I thought they were having a celebration before.
At
Yeah.
Gordon Biersch.
so staff recommends the city council adopt a monthly salary schedule that is 5% higher than the current salary. So they're going to move from $1,547.99 a month to $1,625.39.
You know what?
Effective
Just
as
one of
June
them.
30th.
That's a whole year of maintenance on the clock.
There you go.
But you know,
They're also getting,
years
They
ago,
also get an allowance of $250 a month for their vehicle too.
we used to have glad flies get up at council, and if they wanted to give them a $25 raise, they had ape shit,
Weren't they gadflies? Not gladflies.
whatever they were. They
I don't
were
know what he was
flies.
trying to say, so I didn't even offer
Those
up.
are happy
an
flies,
idea.
I
Glad
guess.
flies, glad flies.
Gadflies.
Yeah, they're
There's no
the
L.
council critics. And they used to complain over a $25 raise. You know, people don't realize that notebook that you see council sitting on
Oh.
there that they get on Tuesday and Wednesday night, there's a little
I
reading
get it on
there.
Friday and have to take the weekend to read it.
There's a lot
Yeah.
that council members. So that money, they're not getting a lot of money to be a council member.
And for those of you that need to have want to save money on a sleeping pill, you can watch the city treasurer's investment portfolio report.
Wow.
Well,
That's
Shots fired.
well, once again, Crystal Palmer does a great job. Our city finances are in great shape.
It's
But
the
when you
content that isn't the
But
most.
when you listen to the presentation and
Right.
and the PowerPoint presentation, you're just saying,
well, the people are great. It's the content that
yeah, it has
they
to be
can't do
it has
anything
to be on
about
the record. You know,
but I'll tell you, she's really got her act together and our portfolio, you think about it, there are people that are in the financial world that love listen to her report.
oh, I can imagine.
Oh yeah,
They're actually probably looking forward to this.
Yeah.
All two of them.
I'll bring the popcorn.
Then we start getting into the meat of the meeting, and of course,
Meat of the
meat
meat.
of the
It's
meeting.
two different spellings of meat, by the way, for clerical purposes.
and of
Those
course,
keeping score.
this meeting will probably last till 1 or 2 in the morning because they're going to do it all in one instead of having extra meetings or anything else. They're going to put everything out in one night. We're going to bring back the to adopt a district map.
Oh,
And so when they started this last meeting, and because 2 of the members weren't there, or Mayor Anthony had to leave on a family thing, they decided to postpone it till the next meeting, which is 3 weeks later, which is Tuesday night.
So instead of doing one reasonably long meeting every week, they're doing an extraordinarily long meeting every 2 weeks.
Yes, actually, there's 3 weeks since they had the last meeting, and then of course,
boy.
and there's no meeting next week. So, because the Burbank Municipal Code says you have to meet at least 2 times a month. It says at least. It doesn't say you only 2 times a month. It says at least.
Right.
So
That's the
why
minimum.
not add a meeting?
So they're shooting for the minimum,
Yeah.
what
and so-
happens when when there's 5 Mondays in a month?
and it's a blue moon. Wait, what?
Well, there's 5 Mondays a month. They have their meetings on Tuesday anyway, so that probably wouldn't matter. But they also it says 2 meetings a month, not 2 meetings every 5 weeks. Anyhow.
Ugh.
You lost me back at the treasurer's report. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, I think I've lost half of anybody on YouTube or Facebook or YouTube and Twitter tonight still alive. So, so once again, we're going to look at, of course, the city website says we've already had this exciting new thing, which I'm sure that they're going to be discussed at the closed session. And of course, they'll come back after closed session and say, nothing to report. But okay, but at least he's going to probably give them a rundown and what's going on, where we stand with the Santa Monica decision. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. They have to adopt a map and then move on and decide about when they want to, how many districts and the whole thing, and have municipal code, change the municipal code.
You know how many people I talk to during the week that still have no clue
Yeah.
what this is all about?
Well, probably out of the let's see, the 15 to 17,000 who vote, which leaves another 35,000 who didn't vote. Those are the people who have no idea and couldn't care less.
It's going to drive people to not want to vote.
Well, if I wasn't sitting here every week with you fine gentlemen, I wouldn't know anything about it. Because through no external source the city's providing am I being educated about this.
Well, it goes to show you, we had run advertisements for them. There's signs on
Well, we ran
every corner.
We ran an ad 8 months ago for 1 month.
Right.
So,
Crazy.
Then after we get through all
Glad
that
fly.
and
Glad
make a
fly.
decision,
Where's that flight
we're
water?
going to talk about an adoption of an urgency ordinance imposing heightened tenant protections for just cause evictions for certain residential tenancies in Burbank. You're going to require permits for demolition, substantial remodel, and increasing the relocation assistance payment to 3 months rent. We're also going to talk about introduction of an ordinance imposing heightened tenant protections for just cause evictions.
You could tell he read the
I read the
read
second
the
one first.
agenda,
Yeah.
and he was literally taking his cursor and following along to highlight it, to
Absolutely.
move it here.
So we're going to talk about, once again, not rent control, but and I get this. I mean, These corporate landlords are coming in, buying buildings, and then saying, "Yes, sir, we're going to remodel this building. You have to all meet."
Everybody out.
Everybody out. And then they paint the door.
And you'll never be able to afford to come back.
Right.
Oh, I'm a victim of that. It happened to me.
So this will at least give, make them at least have their permits first, and what they're going to do, and probably have to define what a renovation is. It can't just be paint. It's got to be probably, maybe some flowers in the front yard. Who knows? But it's got to be something substantial that that people have to move for the work to be done.
Well, and who defines a just cause eviction? Is that already defined somewhere, or is that something that they're working on?
From the state.
Yeah.
I think that's come down
Seems like
from
a
the state.
Okay.
term that could be tossed around easily, but hard to define.
We don't have it on our rundown tonight, but I think they should also talk about doing something to protect all these people on strike right now, the way we protected people during COVID. Two ways to look at it. I mean, they don't have paychecks coming in, and hopefully they don't all lose their houses or their apartments.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to the financial effect on the city.
Well,
that it's having.
And the other side, I'm going to say, and I don't want to think, I'm not thinking of landlords, because, we all know that in November, they've got a property tax payment to pay, which is substantial money. So that money doesn't, the LA County is not going to say, "Oh, gee, guess what? Your tenants are on strike, so you have to pay your taxes." They don't care.
Right. But and we talked about it, I think, a few shows ago, but just to be devil's advocate, a pandemic and a strike are two very different things, which is why I say it's going to come down to the financial effect on the city itself if they're going to start cutting breaks to industry folks, because then you have to define, okay, well, who's industry?
If we're going to be called an industry
Is
city,
it the catering person? Is it right?
Yeah.
But
no, you're right. You're right.
It's going to come down to
because there's subsidiary jobs that aren't in a union. But
right. You have caterers, you have prop people, you have.
But
dry cleaners.
As we were talking about earlier tonight, my Burbank had to raise our rates recently, which we had done like twice in 12 years, and we actually backed off on a couple of our raises to a couple of the restaurants and stuff, because they're struggling right now. So we put them back on the old rates, to try to help them out also. So nobody's asking for a free ride here.
Well, it may come down to private businesses in the city to not pony up, but to cut some breaks here and there. I don't know. But
I don't know either. But
it's difficult.
But
I know.
I see both sides of it, and there's no easy answers here. But
but can you make taxpayers foot the bill for people who are on strike?
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah, I don't think they're asking
for pill to swallow for some.
I don't think they're asking for state money or city money. They're just saying you can't get evicted until for 6 months maybe or something. I don't know what they can do, but
I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to make the decision.
Right. There's a lot of legal stuff in there.
Well, we did it for COVID.
But I don't think we can compare the two. That's my point. Can't compare the two.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to. I won't say can't.
Right.
I just don't think it's fair to compare them.
You're right. I agree 100% with you. We can't. They're not comparable, except the fact that Burbank is a media town. So
I agree. It's important. Certainly the blood life of the city, but it's a completely different scenario.
But I think the flip side of that is our city council asking some of these multi-millionaire board of directors, it's now time. It's starting to affect the majority of our residents.
You're talking about the studio people? The studio millionaires?
Executives.
Well, yeah. The last I heard, their whole philosophy is, we'll just keep this going. They're going to run out of money, and they're going to have to settle with us. So they're not going to help them because they want to see them get desperate and have to settle. That's their whole business plan, I guess. Is to wait them out until they're desperate to come back to the table and say, okay, we.
Well, now
it's almost interesting timing, because I saw a interview with Jay Leno from many years ago, and it was financial difficulty for some reason in the studios, or the network was going through tough times, and he was making $30 million a year. And they went into this big meeting, and they told him, we're going to have to lay off like half your crew unless we can figure something out. And he polled everybody at the table, said, what does everybody think of me taking a 50% pay cut to keep everybody working. And of course, they voted for it.
Sure.
So he took a $15 million pay cut, said, I'm still fine. I'm doing fine I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Keep these people working.
And they were as loyal as could be to him after
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And they were great people, but that was...
And a side note is, I understand he had never once cashed a check that he made.
They're still in
as a Tonight Show host.
He has a separate account they're still there.
Just making money as a separate account.
He lived off his stand-up.
Yep.
All his stand-up money. But you don't hear of any big network or studio executives taking a pay cut.
And also, the last time they had a strike, as I remember, he actually paid the staff people who weren't
out of pocket to basically keep them.
And I haven't heard of any other
solvent.
talk show host doing that this time. So
not this time around. I haven't. Not that it isn't happening. I don't know, but I haven't.
Well,
I haven't heard of any examples.
We did see. I think.
Well, Drew Carey was doing something.
He was going to Bob's. If you bought at Bob's,
that's right.
He picked up your bill.
Yeah.
So he was helping.
He was
the restaurant and the
and a couple of them.
I'm sure that some people are doing something to help him, but I know Jay Leno.
Well, again, God bless them if they're doing it behind the scenes.
Well, it's a good time to interject in here. There are tons of. We are an industry town. There's a lot of restaurants here in Burbank that are given 15 to 20%. I just noticed Romance in the Bean is doing that. You show your union card, and now people have complained. Well, I'm not in the union, but our company has been cut back. They will take care of everybody now. Quite a few of the restaurants. Tequilas, she's offered that from day one. If you're an honest worker in the studio or getting affected by it, they want to help you out.
Well, a lot of hurting people right now. Let's move on to the Burbank. Now, once again, we have two meetings at the same time, and I'm not sure how the Burbank Athletic Federation people are supposed to go to the commission's get together and still have a little meeting at the same time, but they don't think about that because we have to have 7 meetings instead of we had 3 last week, 7 this week. The Burbank Athletic Federation has a special meeting at 5:30 in the Community Services Building, and the one thing they're going to talk about is the youth sports transgender athletic policy, and I get an update by staff. I looked on their agenda, and they had no attachment. They don't explain what the policy is. I think we'll find that out.
Is there a policy, or is the update them writing or creating a policy?
It doesn't say. They don't put it on there, which I think is
no context.
Sad, yeah. Moving to Wednesday, the Board of Library Trustees will meet at 5:30 at the Burbank Central Library. So I guess that
makes sense.
They meet instead of they read. They don't read about it. They actually meet.
But they could read because they got nothing but books around.
Yes. Thursday, the Burbank Culture Arts Commission is going to meet at 9 a.m. So set your alarm clocks for that at the Community Services Building.
I will not be there.
Oh,
Nor will I. Sorry.
They're going to have an update on their fall festival. That's something that they're putting together. They're going to do it with the Valley Cultural Foundation, and they're going to hold a screening of the Nightmare Before Christmas movie.
Wasn't that written by some guy in Burbank?
Yeah, by Tim Burton. On September 30th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Johnny Carson Park. I'm not sure how well they're going to show a screen at 4 in the afternoon, but I'm sure that, it's going to be a very bright screen, I guess.
You can do it. We did it up at the bowl once. There's some projectors out there my son got that.
Let's see, the event is going to include performances from various groups, artists, vendors, and there'll be food trucks. They said the plans are still being finalized, the performers, but they recommended they invite some Armenian performers that come to the show to attract members of the Armenian community. They said that they're going to actually be paying the performers, so I'm not sure where the money comes from that. Tim Burton wants the event promoted through Eventbrite, so they have a better count of the people who will be attending. Now, this is a free event. I'm not sure, and it's in a park, so there's no fences around it. I'm not sure how they're going to really regulate who comes in to watch the movie or doesn't, but he wants to have Eventbrite do their... Everbright. No, it's Eventbrite.
Is it Event?
It's Tim Burton and Eventbrite.
Um,
Well, our Burbank Cultural Arts Commission, they do a lot of things. People don't realize, not just music, not just painting the boxes on the street corner, putting a mural at the animal shelter we covered, but they also have a lot of different things. And they don't get shown. This is finally something that they've
it's a great event.
Speaking of electrical boxes,
They're also talking about electrical boxes, and they're ready for. They've currently done 60 electrical boxes have been painted, and right now they're up to phase 7, and they pay an artist $1,250 for their electrical box art. So I guess there's a lot of designs being submitted right now, and all that, and I guess artists make a.
they're making a killing. I just driving around town. I like the artwork on the boxes, but I didn't know they were getting almost $1,300 a piece.
They not only need to. The city gives them some parameters. There's themes on all these different phases, and they got to come up with a theme. They got to come up with the art, and it has to be approved. And then to paint it, I've gone out there. We've covered it.
Well, we have a My Burbank at the corner of Hollywood and Magnolia
Yes, we do.
that we actually sponsored.
I will tell you a couple of these because many of them have like cartoon characters on them and stuff. And if you catch one of them in the corner of your eye, sometimes you swear somebody's running into the street, running off the sidewalk, jumping, going crazy, or something like that.
Well, it's better just having an old green painted camouflage box.
I like
there,
them.
so. Yeah, it's
10 minutes ago I didn't know they were paying $1,250 a piece to have them painted. So I'm going to stick with the time when I didn't know that they were paying that much money to have them painted.
Well, some of these
I'm just going to
painters,
be pleased looking at them.
We've done
Our
profiles
struggling artists, so
on a couple of these artists, and they go from city to city doing this. That's how they live, is painting a box.
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
It should be a book. Somebody should go when it's done. They go around, make a book of all the different boxes.
Well, it's funny you say that because last week we're talking about painting boxes and murals. I believe the city does have a list somewhere. I found on Visit Burbank, not on the city website,
Well, that's it.
all the murals.
That's part of the Burbank website, is it? Visit Burbank?
No.
That's not paid for by the.
Well, it might be paid, but it's not on the city website.
It's a different URL.
Yes, it's Visit Burbank.
Right.
And it has murals inside of restaurants, inside of businesses, like Tequila's, where it says Burbank. She has 7 different murals in there. Patty called me the other day. I think that's a restaurant probably with the most gorgeous murals. But would
Oh, they're
people ever know?
They're
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, we did a story on it, so they should know.
On Tequila's, but what
Yeah.
about other places?
Oh, you were talking about tequilas and about.
But if people wanted to find murals, go to visitburbank.com.
So after you're done with the 9 a.m. meeting, you can get some lunch and then get ready for the Park and Rec Board meeting. It's at 6 p.m.
Oh, I'm going to need to eat before then.
Now, they're going to bring up something that the community had an uproar about because, and justifiably so, that the city was going to cut down 121 trees,
What kind of trees?
Aleppo pine trees.
Aleppo pine trees, mostly on Niagara. They started. We're going to do that in July of 2023, and they never had notified the residents until all of a sudden crews started to show up to say, "We're going to cut all the trees down."
No. They didn't do that. I know the city.
Rewind.
They sent out
Well,
a notice
they
within.
were going to do. They were going to do
They didn't give them a choice, is
No,
what they did.
and it was
Right.
within a week. I think they're going to start doing it. So
But they had some emergency conditions. They had to
and it was
address,
in the
right?
middle of the summer. They sent out these letters. Somebody goes to Europe for 2 weeks, comes back and finds
their
the
trees
pine
gone.
tree.
Their front lawn is all burned out because the shade's gone.
Now, so they're talking about taking out 121 trees. Now, I guess you know, Rush, you know more about it, but they want to take out all the mature trees no matter what. Now, I think you heard there were 4 trees that really need to be taken out because they are in desperate need of being removed. But I'm just having a hard time getting around. We got to take 120 trees out.
Now, is there a plan to replace these trees? Because
Yeah.
most cities have a
For
plan.
every
Right,
tree-
but with little saplings. That
Well, they
Right.
gotta
There's
grow
no sense
somewhere.
replacing it with
Right.
another old tree. Yeah.
right. It's going to take 40 or 50 years
Sure.
to start getting.
Well, you got to
any kind of
realize these pine trees that they're taking out are 100 and 110 years old.
right.
Okay, they've way past their maturity. You know,
Well, that's not, I read about them. They actually said those trees last between 100 and 150 years, and I'm not sure we just got to take them all out on the same week.
well, they're not. If you studied a little more, which
Well,
I did, I dived
Okay, within a year.
Go
into
for it. Let them cover it because none of us here are tree experts.
I dived into the report that the city required. They hired a arborist, an independent arborist that went out and did a ton of work. This report is 20 pages. I mean, of every tree, he had magnifying glasses. The stuff that he used, binoculars, probes, soil probes, cameras,
Well, look what bark beetle infestation did to entire forests the last handful of years.
So what happened was that last storm we had, we lost several trees that should have been taken out years ago. And who's
Well, we
paying
lose
for it?
any of those pine trees.
Yes, they were.
That's not. No, I asked
On Niagara, I photographed trees on Niagara that went into houses.
during the storm 3 weeks ago.
Not 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I thought that you were talking. Well, I thought you meant the
we
tropical
didn't lose
storm.
any at this last one.
No.
Nobody lost.
No, because I asked the city if any trees because of this, and the city said no trees were.
Greg, we're talking this report's now
Okay.
3 months old.
When you
The
said
last
you said
one.
the storm, I just thought I didn't know what storm you were talking about.
So there are 3 trees, 2 on Niagara, 1 on Keystone that need to be removed immediately.
Okay.
And what they're looking at, and I'll tell you, if you want to read the report, it's all public. You can go on the Parks and Rec, administrative page for their meeting, their agenda. And I'll tell you, the person that did this report, every house is listed.
Okay.
They've broken them down now,
What's the time frame they want to take these 120 trees out in?
2 years.
Okay.
But like, when they started removing the trees on Magnolia and people had, 5 businesses, they'd cut down these trees. People were going ape shit. People were complaining and they're legitimate. But those people that are complaining have never gone on the roof of those businesses to see that there's 3 feet of tree leaves that on flat roofs, when it rains, you then now have a building
A
collapse.
lot of weight, a lot of rot that's happening underneath it. But the tree plantings are for the long term. They're
Right.
thinking 40 years ahead, 50 years ahead. Everybody's stuck on today.
Right.
These are long-term plans.
And if you recall, a couple years ago, in one of the parks in Pasadena, a tree that fell, that they had an arborist watching it, fell and killed a kid. I mean, now the city is at liable. So they've really done a lot of work. I read this report page by page. The city, the thing that gets me is this is another thing that the city does. No public knew about it. Nobody knows.
That's the bottom line here is that they just want to go ahead and do it without.
But it is worth noting that all of these trees are on city property.
Yes. I believe 99%, yeah.
Yeah.
And their plan is, because Burbank's Tree City, USA, for every tree that they'll take
You have
out,
to replace.
they're going to replace with 2 or 3.
Okay.
Okay? Yes, it might take a couple years.
These are
Several
for
years.
the long term.
Yeah, they didn't realize when they planted the trees along Magnolia. If you drive westbound from Victory, look at the canopy. The canopy is the leaves. Those trees are huge. When we get
The sidewalks.
well, the problem is they also destroy the sidewalks.
Yeah.
They drop berries.
Tripping hazards and
Well, and so they came up with this plan over, I think it's a 10-year plan to replace all those trees. And yes, it's sad to see all that shade go, but also when the city gets sued for a couple $1 million for a loss of a life, then you kind of
and your kid can watch that tree out front grow.
right, yeah. So
Well, I mean, actually, they had a 10-year plan for Niagara too.
yeah, and I look at the trees they are gorgeous, but when
It's sad.
when
It's
we
sad.
have did we ever expect when they planted these trees
Well,
that we'd be in a drought?
and that's something to consider. We also planted these trees.
Right,
We didn't build the houses around in a forest,
right.
right? These trees were were planted there. So this is part of a master plan.
Yep. And the city has to look at the overall picture and like Magnolia, like these pine trees, it's a bigger picture than just the tree in front of my house.
Yeah, I hate to say selfish, but it's not your tree. And you don't want that tree going through your garage or anything like that.
Well, that storm that we had a couple months back that took out a couple of trees, I remember chasing, literally going with the fire department, from lines down, power lines down, trees down, cars destroyed.
And the information they have is if a tree falls, the city's not going to pay any liability for it.
Right.
Even if their tree on their property, they just say, back to nature.
So if you want to read that report, it's online. If you go to the city page, go to agendas, you can look at the Parks and Rec report, and there is a report and 2 attachments. You can read it for it yourself if you want to know how and when they'll be cutting the tree down.
We'll try to tell you next week what was decided. Well, actually, all I'm going to do is just have a report and send that report to the council. That's right. It's another commission that actually does reports to the council.
There you go.
Holy cow!
There's a silver lining for you.
Cow! But they always do. They're actually very good about that. One more thing on we go to.
We're still on Thursday
here,
14th.
A busy day on Thursday. We have another ribbon cutting for U.S. Hair Cutters and Beauty Supply, which is going to be located at 3303 Magnolia Boulevard. So if you need a haircut or a beauty supply, there's a new store for you.
And we don't know if we're going to have anybody there covering it. So if you happen to attend, you want to snap a couple of pictures, go ahead and hashtag us on Twitter, My Burbank News, or email them or whatever. Send us some pictures.
There's a couple of new maybe I'll go by a day before, because I'm told there's a couple of new juice places that haven't had ribbon cuttings yet. There's a couple of new restaurants that we don't know about.
Well, they got to join the chamber, though, for ribbon cutting, don't they?
Well, they do, but, you don't need to join remember the chamber.
Did they just pass around the same pair of giant scissors?
The scissors are in the back of my truck, and yes, I carry them everywhere.
Uh-oh.
And you know what?
Right. Well, there we go.
Those are real working
There you go.
scissors.
That's also the shadow puppet for a German Shepherd.
Oh.
But my question is this. Who can give the scissors to if they have it for their ribbon cutting when you're not there?
Ooh, that is going to be a very good question. I'm going to have to leave them somewhere.
Yeah, there you go. Also on Thursday, and the reason you won't be at the ribbon cutting is because you'll be attending the police recruit class of at the LASO Sheriff's Department, of course, LASO Training Academy Class 467.
That is in Whittier at the Star
Center.
Star Center, and Burbank has.
How many recruits do we have in the class?
It didn't say on the list. I know we have a couple of new recruits. I think this one we might have only one.
Well, how many started? How many finished?
Yeah, exactly. That is a difficult. The Star Center is a real difficult.
Spent a bunch of my academy time down there, and it is not easy to get to from the San Fernando Valley.
Well, you're right. It takes me 3 hours to get there,
and that's the easy part, driving there. The hard part is
from the nearest. It's a half an hour from the nearest freeway.
Right.
Yeah, the hard part's gonna be going through it, not just getting there.
But good for them. Hopefully, they make it all the way to the end. Some, didn't make it all the way. That's part of the process. But congratulations to Class 467.
We are getting some recruits. Everybody is hearing how hard it is to get police officers. So it's good to see.
Good for them for getting through the process and hopefully making it through field training and hanging on to do some good in town.
Friday, the animal shelter, actually this weekend, starting on Friday, the animal shelter is doing an auction for animals 2023. And they're going to be auctioning artwork from the different studios and the artists there. So
it's Ross, you have the information. It's one artist that does artwork for this couple of the studios, right?
Yeah, apparently there's a gentleman that is donating from his collection 200 great items up for bids. They have treasure trove Disney collectibles, including Warner Brothers classic collection items from Cinderella, Bambi, Fantasia. Also, artists signed Lost my page here. A lot of artists signed work himself. People kind of wonder, the animal shelter, VBAS, Volunteers at the Burbank Animal Shelter. They are a 501c3. They're volunteers. I think we once looked and they had a lot of money put away.
They have close to $1 million saved.
But they are also now doing spay and neuter in the shelter instead of sending them out, so it costs. And a lot of people don't realize they're now doing low-cost vaccination clinic for Burbank residents, free for senior citizens, I believe. So that's where
That's where this money goes. So it's certainly a good cause. Now, this is an online auction, and where can they go to see what's available?
Yeah, mark your calendar. Bidding begins 8 a.m. Friday, September 18th, or September 15th. Bidding begins at 8 a.m. on Friday. Happy bidding. You can go to the VBAS. They do have their own website, and I guarantee there will be a link there.
If you Google Burbank Animal Shelter or something, I'm sure you'll get there. Okay.
Yep. And that's part of the Park and Rec. They are now falling under that. So, great way to.
So if you want some studio collectibles, some art to put on your wall, it's a good chance to do it for a good cause, right?
Yep, exactly.
And then on Sunday, Ross, you've got a event you want to talk about in North Hollywood.
Well, we don't normally cover outside of Burbank, but Craig Derling and I, we have gone on Cyclovia. Everybody probably hears about them. Not everybody knows what they are. Cyclovia is where they clear the streets, they close them down, and make bike paths. And the reason I'm saying we're sharing this one, real convenient to get to. This is called a cyclamini. It's only 1 mile. It's
flat.
It's very flat. From Chandler to Camarillo.
Not your back tire, just the course.
There's food booths. There's music. You want to ride in the middle of the street, you can. Anyway, skateboards, scooters, bicycles. Like I said, it's easy to get to. If you can get to Chandler, go west. It goes, I believe, from 9 to 3 on Lancashire. Have at it. It's a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff to check out along the way.
It's
not just a bike ride, but there's a lot going on. There's
some of these bikes that. Remember, we saw the guy that has a wooden bike. Literally, he has
great for photo ops. If you love people watching, taking pictures of stuff, it's fun.
People put their dogs in scooters at the back.
They'll have the goggles on and like the Snoopy.
Yeah, in North Hollywood, I bet you they don't. When they shut down streets, they don't put barricades at all the street corners, do they? And all the driveways, do they really?
Yeah, at the cyclovias, they usually do.
Okay, that's interesting.
This is funded by Metro.
Okay, well, they have a lot of money
by the city of Los Angeles, so
or by the city of Burbank.
Right.
Just to give you a quick update on Ross's rant from last week about the police tape at Wendy's and the parking signs at Johnny Carson Park.
Drum roll, please, Ross.
What's
your update?
What do you do, drum roll?
No, we're running long.
Within 48 hours of the podcast, what did we find out?
I noticed that there is no police line tape on Victory Place. I went by Johnny.
There's about 100 yards of it in a giant ball in the back of your car.
No, I didn't take it down, but somebody listens to this podcast, and somebody took.
We'll take credit for it.
Well, you said the signs were taken down at Johnny Carson Park, but
the sign was,
but not the string,
the tape,
the tape that they have,
tape that goes around, and they did them on some young, immature trees. On the 2 posts that hold the tree in, you can see the tape.
Like the ones that'll be going up and down Niagara.
Yeah.
Right.
But the tape was taken down. Good.
Well, that does now bring us to our last and final item.
Current rant.
And if you stayed with us for this,
here's your reward.
This hour and 10-minute podcast, you get to have a little bit of fun here listening to Ross's new rant.
Put the kids to bed. Cover the pets' ears.
And this is all about the Magnolia Park street shutdown coming up for Burbank Pride Night and
Family Pride
Night, and
no, not night.
Oh,
it's just Family Pride.
Okay,
it's a daytime event.
Okay, and before we get into this, I'm gonna preface this with one thing: we have no problem with an event like this. This is not about pride. This is not about the people. This is not about that. This is about lack of communication, lack of talking to local merchants, everything else. So Ross, why don't you get into it? This is not, we're not.
It's not what it's about. It's how it was handled.
It's about the substance, not about the subject matter. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm just trying to give a disclaimer because I don't want somebody to say that
it's not about the concept of the whole thing. It was how it was handled with the local businesses and promises that were made, right?
Right, and promises that were made last year and never kept. So Ross, get into it.
Well,
he's got you fired up.
Got me all wound up. Here we go, folks. Burbank Pride had an event last year. It was done on private property. It was at the UME Bank parking lot.
First one.
They approached many months before Magnolia Park merchants and wanted to do it on a Friday night when Magnolia Park used to do Ladies and Gents Night Out, the food truck night out. They wanted to do it all. And, we did. They said, we'll give you $5,000 to pay for the expenses, like the police officers that you need and the street cleanup and so forth. And a council member, Tamala Takeuchi, is who brought them to us. And after some negotiations, the board of Magnolia Park merchants said, okay, you can use our name and do it on a night that we have our event. Well, the event went off. We got Magnolia Park, took a lot of unhappy emails, phone calls.
And once again, not because of what the event was about, it's because of the people that brought in to protest what they were doing.
Well, it was that and
how loud they were and everything else.
A lot of different reasons. So the Magnolia Park merchants thought about it, and it kind of went to sleep for several months because we weren't doing Friday night events anymore. Well, this year.
Well, let me ask you this. Did they pay the bill that they promised you last year?
No. We have not seen the money that they promised us. It's kind of ugly. The former treasurer of Magnolia Park Merchants is now the current president of Burbank Pride. We have tried to call her. She's not returning calls. We've sent emails. We are not getting return emails. I know their board went through a change. We did not know that they were going to do the event again until 2 weeks ago. We were told that they're thinking about it. Now that I read a report that was put out today to the city manager, they were planning on doing this back in March and April. They had wanted to get a permit, and Burbank didn't have their special events permits ready to go yet.
Hard to believe.
The Magnolia Park merchants had a board meeting last week, and I personally asked, did you know about this? Did you know they were going to close Magnolia Park down? Did you know that on Saturday from noon to 6, they're putting on this event? None of the merchants knew about it. We're hearing about it by seeing other people's emails. What gets me about this is the former treasurer, who used to have a business in Magnolia Park. She does not anymore. Now the current president, not a Burbank resident, does not have a business in Burbank. None of their board have any businesses in Burbank. They're now going to the city to get approval to put on this event. And it's planned for September 23rd, 2 weeks away. And we're just hearing about it. I mean, people don't realize Magnolia Park I just said the word, Magnolia Park. It is not a park. It is a business district. Okay? This type of event should be on private property or in a park.
Yeah.
This would be perfect for Johnny Carson Park, for Schaefer Field, for Olive Rec, where you can park and party and do that. You are closing down a major boulevard in Burbank from 6 to 6 without the businesses knowing about it. who gives them permission to just do this? That's what we're kind of thrown by.
Well, I would think that part of the application process by the city should be if there's a business within 100 feet of it involved. So let's say that I think this is from California to Avon, correct? That they want to close down.
Yep.
That every business on those 2 blocks should be, talked to and said, polled or something and said, do you want this event to happen or do you're an okay? And if 80% of the businesses say we don't want it, then what's the city doing giving out, because those people depend on people driving their car up, parking on the street, going into their business because there's no off-street parking around there. So they depend on people driving them to go to their businesses. So
you able to get a copy of the permit to see?
Yeah, I've gotten part of it in the report today. And what gets me is they're calling the event Family Pride in the Park. Okay, now if the city, I think the city should have inquired from Magnolia Park merchants if we were involved. Last year we were. We have nothing to do with them. In fact, there's a survey going around that is asking business owners and other people in Burbank what they think about this event. And it just kind of blows us away that this is moving forward like a steam, storm train, stream train.
Yeah, well, here's my next.
Well, it's a bit of a misnomer saying it's in the park. It's
Well,
like it's
there's
in
no
a park.
swings and slides there. So
No, just traffic.
what my question is this though: shouldn't they have to put up a certain amount because you're going to have there was a lot of protesters there last year, and there was a lot of police. I think 15 to 20 police officers on scene to keep the protesters on the other side of the street. So that you got to pay those police officers to be there. It's all overtime. Are they going to pay their bill? Is the money due up front for this, or are they going to all of a sudden not pay their bill to the city again?
Well, reading this report that came out today,
Yeah,
and I have it in front of me. It's public information. You can get it on the city website. It basically says that additionally, for special events, the Burbank Police Department coordinates the presence of officers which will be billed to the applicant for per hour rate of 4-hour minimum. Once the city has established that the event has complied with all requirements and paid their permit fees. It doesn't say that they have to prepay for police. They have to prepay for the street closure, any of that.
That's not included in permit fees.
Well, it doesn't make that real clear. What gets us, if they can't pay us from last year, how's the city even letting them do that this year?
and does it say what the cost of an officer for the 4 hours is?
No.
Because I think it's got to be probably $300 or $400 at least for one officer.
Whatever overtime is.
Plus you're talking about sergeants and lieutenants who have to be out there, and who knows how many depending on what goes on. So, I mean, that could be alone a $2,000 or $3,000 bill, and if they don't pay, what's the city going to do about it? Because
and continuing to read this report, I will say the Economic Development Department was the one tasked with, finding out all this information. It really kind of blows us away. And like I said, there's a lot that they have to come up with. So far, they've come up with general liability for the event. That's, any insurance agent will do that.
Yeah, for one day. Yeah.
I've seen their street traffic plan, their event, all these things that's the city so far. So what kind of blows me away is all the reports from the city are due on by September 18th. That's next Monday. The event is 6 days later. If they don't have, how are they going to put this event on?
And they have to have all the barricades and all the streets and all the driveways and everything, and a trash pickup service but that's all done through private companies, correct?
Right.
So I hope those companies have
So
Are getting
my question
deposits
is,
at least.
and I ask our vice mayor today, who decides that they can come in town and close down a major boulevard, a major business district on a Saturday at their whim, when they want. And the Magnolia Park merchants are concerned. We're also concerned for the residents. We go out of our way to make sure that after our events, Magnolia Park merchant events, the neighbors, we take their complaints. We make sure the street is clean. Everything is replaced.
Because what's going to happen is if something does go wrong,
Who's going to get
they're
blamed?
going to come and blame the
Magnolia
merchants.
Park merchants.
They're going to say, "Oh, look what you guys have done now," and then complain to the city, "We don't want any more events there because look what they've done." And you had no decision making in the process whatsoever.
So that's Ross's rant for this week. There will be more, probably. We'll find out more.
Sounds like we're going to be looking forward to some follow-up from that one.
Yes, I think so. Especially, like I said, I just got this report today. It was put on the city manager's notes. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's
And the other thing is, people have told me they're getting a survey, and they want you to reply via your cell phone to a number that they're supplying. The person that is doing that survey has nothing to do with
the city.
Magnolia Park
or the city.
or the city of Burbank. It is an
That's
individual.
important to note because I got one of those.
Well, and he wants you to text your reply, which means he will then have
Your cell phone number.
your cell phone number. It is a Republican organization that it's just kind of strange that the survey is gone out now, and a lot of people are getting it, not knowing, and they're just filling it out.
I know this
Don't
individual's
fall
also
into the trap.
I know this individual also requested all the body-worn camera footage from the last event,
Right.
and has posted it online to show all the problems they had last year with the protesters. So it's a can of worms.
Yeah.
A kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle is right. And like I said, I checked with our president, Kathy Ross from Magnolia Park today. We have not heard again from Tracy Tabb. We have not seen the money that they owe us.
Well,
Those are
I'm
some
just
things.
disappointed that the city did not reach out to the merchants and say, "Are you in support of this or not?" or "What's your feelings?" I mean, I think that's a real oversight.
Oh.
That they're just, "Hey, it's our street. We'll do whatever we want to with it." Yeah, well, that's true, but you know what? The businesses on that street all pay taxes to you for certain, and one is to have streets where people can park on to go to their business.
Do we have anybody we can reach out to over there?
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to Burbank's Economic Development, who kind of authored this report for the city manager, because I'm curious. Last year's Pride in the Park, that was in cahoots with Magnolia Park merchants. We have nothing to do with them now. That's why I.
and you didn't close the
But they're
street,
still using the name.
and you didn't close the street down last year for them. It was just the street was open. All they used was a parking lot at UME Credit Union. Now they want to close an entire street down for 2 blocks.
I was told UME is not allowing them to use their property this year. There must be something behind that also.
To be continued.
Yep.
Well,
And that takes us right to the hour and a half
yes, it does.
marker.
So if you've stayed with us all this time, we do appreciate it. Hopefully you learn a little something about the city here and there, about events, about what's going on. Makes you a wiser person.
Well, we got a lot going on in Burbank, as you could tell. I hate when people say, "I never heard that. I never knew that was going on." When did you guys talk about that?
I mean, council districts? We don't know about that.
Well, that's just for one, but I mean the festival.
Gordon Biersch is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, do you know the people, when a council candidate gets 1/5 of the votes that are available to get, and they get elected?
Yeah.
Because people just don't vote. And I don't get
Hey,
it.
some people just live here.
Well, I will tell you that it's in the works. We're working on a podcast with the three of us. I need help here. I have compiled a list of restaurants that are no longer in Burbank. They've been here, been gone.
Well, I gave you the idea for 3 more.
Right.
The ones that preceded bread and breakfast.
Right. But right here, I cannot believe all these restaurants, and it's over many years, but we're going to test your knowledge when we say Vandy Camps or, some Eaton Park. Oh, no, Eaton Park's still there.
Clint's.
Oh.
I'm going to compile a list of all the restaurants that are open 24 hours a day in town.
Well,
I'm going to get to work. Okay, I'm done.
After number 1.
I'm done.
If that list gets to 2, let me know.
So we're working on that podcast. It should be fun. It'll scratch your brain to think of old-time Burbank.
For a lot of people out there claim they know everything about this town. Let's put that to the test.
You're right.
Yep. Well, that's it for another.
So people could send us an email of your 5 restaurants that have moved out of Burbank, and let's just test and see.
Or closed for Burbank. Not just moved, but closed down. So
Come and gone. The restaurants that were and the restaurants that will be.
and had been. Okay. Well, once again, for Ross Benson and Craig Joy, this is Craig Sherwood. Thank you very much for listening to us. We always appreciate it. And we will be back with you again next week.
Tally-ho!
Good night. My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of My Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, Yumi Credit Union, the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Gain Credit Union, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, UCLA Health, Tequila's Cantina and Grill, UPS Store on 3rd Street, and Hill Street Cafe.